Men women of Reddit who went out to buy cigarettes milk and never came back. Do you ever think about the family you left behind? Do you send them money or regret leaving? What made you go? My mother went on a trip when I was 7. I remember asking my dad often when she was coming back. She got back in touch a few years after that, but it still hurt having to learn that she lied to me. I still don't have many good feelings about her. It's probably because I never really knew how to trust her after that. She still believes that she can have a big say in my life even after she left, even though she never helps my father with any bills. Everyone in my family told me that my father was a really awesome guy except for when he was drinking. Unfortunately, he drank a lot. When I was 18 months, he went on a 4-day bender. Just gone. Getting pissed drunk. Skipping work. Probably ducking bra flies and homewreckers. My mom, as she did all the times previously, drove around town looking for him. Called his usual spots and his friends. Either nobody saw him or nobody fessed up. Bros before hoss. After 4 days, he comes home at about 3 or 4 in the morning. We lived in a trailer park, so I guess all the homes look the same. So he's ducked up, and he thinks the house across the street is our house, and not actually the house across the street. So he tries the door. Key doesn't work. Figures my mom changed the lock. Gets pissed off and starts pounding on the door screaming, "Open up the duckine door, you bitch, I'll smack the it out of you, blah blah blah," and so on. So, the nice old lady who lived across the street wakes up in a panic and obviously calls the cops. So my mom woke up just in time to see my father get arrested. Where'd my husband go? Ah, there he is. So mom says duck it all, and moves back to her hometown. Takes me with her. Files a restraining order. Files divorce. He calls back and wants to rekindle the relationship. Baby, he changed. He was a new man now. He learned his lesson. Mom wasn't having it. She said a boy needs a father in his life and tried to set up visitation. Support enforcement set up bills. So dad was like, well, duck this, and moved back up to Alaska where he came from. I never heard a peep from him while I was growing up. We kept trying to reach out. He owed a load of child support. And I kept being a whiny mopey preteen. Why did my daddy run away? Why don't you find him? So mom even got as far as hiring a private investigator who was able to track down lots of previous addresses, but apparently dad was getting lots and lots of women pregnant, so he'd become sort of a master at dodging duckers. He dodged the state cops and support enforcement easily enough. Private eyes from out of town were even easier. By the time I was a teenager, we'd get intermittent support checks. He'd get a job, hold it for just long enough for it to register in the system, and we'd get a support check, usually $10 to $30 or so. My mom and I called them cheeseburger checks. Does what the duck are you supposed to do with $30? So we'd buy epic cheeseburgers and fries and milkshakes. It was like our tradition. Whenever we'd get a random support check, we'd blow it on epic cheeseburgers. So anyway, I turn 18, and I have a fairly nice birthday celebration with mom and sis. Then I'm like, well, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, and proceeded to just dip out and go skate all day and get hella drunk and stoned because duck your world, I'm a grown up now. First time I never checked in with my mom, and it was great. Anyway, dad apparently knew where to find me and he called while I was out. So my mom is like, are you ducking kidding me? I guess he thought since I was 18 he couldn't get charged with back support. So he's like, I need to know how my boy's doing or whatever. Mom takes his number down. Next day I'm having breakfast and mom's like, well, your father called and I took his number down. Here it is. You do with it what you want to. So all day I'm like, duck. Should I call him or not? Should I call him or not? Finally, I decide to man up and call him. Learn who the duck he is. Maybe give him a piece of my mind. More than ring ring. More than 4-year-old girl. Hello. More than me. Hi, is Pete there? More than 4-year-old girl. Gasped Naduo. He go there to JUL. More than commotion in the background. Some woman saying don't say that kind of stuff. Give me the phone. Get to your room right now. She picks up the phone. More than lady. Ahem. Hello? More than me. Yay. I'm trying to get a hold of Pete. More than lady. Pete can't come to the phone right now. More than me. Lol, yeah, I guess not. Was kind of a D at 18. Still am, I guess. More than. Lady. All huffy and annoyed. Well, who is this? More than. Me. More cheerful. Well, this is his son. Who's this? More than. Lady. Perturbed. Pete doesn't have a son. So that one was a gut punch. That one actually hurt a bit. But then while I'm processing what to say next, I can hear her crying on the other end of the line. Duck, you got a 4-year-old. The father's in jail. It has hit the fan. And now you find out about his pseudo bastard child from 18 years ago that he hid from you. I felt like a real D. Not just a haha so edgy D, but a true and uncool D. So I just said, look, I'm really sorry I called. I'm gonna go now. And I hung up. He called back a few weeks later. By then I was in college doing college it. He told my mom he was on a secret agent mission or something. My mom said we heard you were in jail and he said that was part of his cover. Lol. This was all way before the internet because I'm duckin' old. But with the advent of the internet, I've been able to Google him. He ran for lieutenant governor of Alaska against Sarah Palin's campaign and got his ass beat hard. He also won a Darwin Award for trying to take an inflatable raft out into the Bering Sea with nothing but a jacket, binoculars, bird guide and farmer's almanac. A bunch of people saw some guy in a rubber raft floating out into one of the world's coldest oceans and called 911. Coast Guard had to save him. He was super pissed off about the rescue and kept showing the farmer's almanac, which proved the tide would bring him back. So they ran a check on him and he had a warrant, so he was arrested. Lol. So that happened. The reason I'm sharing all this isn't some pity party woe is me bullet. I'm happily married to a fantastic woman with a couple of great boys. I have a great job, a wide circle of good friends, and I'm usually a genuinely happy person. This is all in spite of having a father who abandoned me. My point in telling all this is trying to get to the bottom of why someone left just leads to more heartache and more stupid but burning questions. If you have a father who abandoned you, they abandoned you because they are a duckin' D, and selfish, and a duckin' loser. That's all. It's easy. You don't need to get inside their mind to hear how they rationalize it, or to attempt to make sense of it. There's no deeper meaning or sense to be made. They're just duckin' selfish. You're probably better off without them. Edit. So, first of all, thanks for the kind words of encouragement and your own similar stories. And the gold. Good grief. Thank you. Second of all, there's been several people pointing out that Darwin Awards are only given away if you're dead and childless. I didn't know that. My wife says to me this morning, he didn't get a Darwin Award, you only get those if you're dead. He got like an honorable mention or something. I can only tell you this. I googled him and there was a link to Darwin Awards. I clicked it. The link didn't work. I clicked on the green cached link and read the story about the rubber raft in the Bering Sea. I can't even find that much now though, but there's a few people in the thread who live in Alaska and are familiar with the story. Third, he ran in 2006, and he submitted his name as an official candidate, but he failed to provide the required signatures to the electoral office by the 22nd of August deadline, so his name wasn't in the voters pamphlet, but he's on the state's elections page for that year. You won't find him on Wikipedia though. I guess that's how badly Palin beat him. I understand the apprehension to take a story at face value. This is the internet. But I'm reluctant to divulge much more than this to the internet, because pretty much anyone can go on the internet. My grandfather, who I have never met, walked out on my dad. I never really knew anything about him other than he lived in Florida and chose favorites to the extreme. My dad has 9 brothers and sisters he left behind with my amazing grandmother Rose, who I call my grandfather, is another amazing person named Jim. Jim worked at a casket company and listened to my grandmother's story one day at a bake shop, I think. After hearing it, he would send check after check to my grandmother offering help, which my grandmother would never cash and just let build up. When he realized he wasn't losing any money from his bank account, he showed up at my grandmother's doorstep with another check and talked to her. He lived with her after that until the day she sadly died. Jim is 90 years old and still kicking. I love that man more than I can express in words. Well, as I was walking out the door, heading for the shops to get some milk, my wife said drive safely, and I replied by saying you too. but she wasn't driving anywhere. She was staying at home. I instantly knew I could never return after that. I mean, even my kids heard it. So I got in the car, drove away and never looked back. This thing needs a serious tag. I'm just looking around this thread to see if my dad's here, because I'd really like to hear his explanation. I'm going to the store right now for a pack of smokes. When I get back I'll answer this question. My mother was a prostitute, alcoholic, and addicted to drugs. She left when I was 3 and never came back. My father would tell me that she loved me very much but just wasn't ready or mature enough to have a child. He passed away when I was 16. When that happened I was able to get in contact with my mother's sister, an aunt to me. She would hang out with me, but when I asked around my mother she would beat around the bush and say that my mom didn't want me to see her the way she was. I hoped to graduate college and then see my mother, to show her that I did good and be able to talk to her as an adult, but she died right before I turned 22, so I never got to ask her why. But it's easy enough to assume that when the party lifestyle has its hooks in you, those hooks are deep indeed and never really let go. Duck, I knew I forgot something. He said smell ya later, but he never smelled me again, comma. I didn't just take off and leave. We both knew I was heading to another state to live for the remainder of our son's life. I set up child support before I left, and have had my son every summer since I left. I decided to leave because I was too immature to raise him to be a functioning member of society. I ducked my life up before he was even born and I didn't want him to follow me down that path. 16 years later he now has a stable life with a brother and a sister that he cares a lot about. I'm very proud of everything they have accomplished. I took the easy way out and just ran away. Someday I'll sit him down and explain everything, but it might be too late. I thought my dad left me and my brother when I was 6. My mother told me that he didn't want us and that he was a dangerous man. I had good memories of him, but enough bad ones to make her stories seem believable. It took me 15 years to get up the courage to find him and talk to him. My brother convinced me it was a good thing. He said our mother kept us from him, lied to the courts, returned all the presents and letters he sent us for our birthdays and Christmas. He was so bitter about it that that's all that was left of him. Just a giant ball of hate for a woman that took everything from him. Now I can't look at either of my parents without disgust. What monsters I was bred from. Not me but my ex-GF. During the middle of dating my ex she confessed that she had 3 daughters to 3 different men and didn't stick around to raise any of them. Then dated a 16-year-old boy when she was 32 because his father was rich. Duck people like that. How could you just walk out on your children in such a ducking selfish manner? Really pisses me off. Not me but I was seeing this girl a few years back briefly and her sister had just had a kid and married the dad. While the mom was at work, the dad took the baby to the neighbor and said he was going out for some milk. He drove to the roof of a parking garage and jumped off. I think they were only married for a few weeks. 2. Pretty heartbreaking. I knew of my mother until the age of around 11. Last time I saw her was 2007 when she came back to my hometown and we drove around. I don't remember anything of the conversation as I was only a young lad then. Although I do remember one question. She asked if I loved her or my dad more. A simple enough question. Anyone could answer it. Then the harshness of the situation hit me. Silence. I'd just been asked if I wanted to live with mummy or daddy and never, I repeat, never see the other parent again. I only realized this now, years later, the gravity of that decision. My entire life decided by a simple 3-letter word. Dad. Best. Ducking. Decision. I still am unsure about the reasons she walked out. I've been told it was to avoid her financial situation. She apparently owes my father a little more than you accrued 1,000 and a few companies far more. I'd say never knowing a parent is far easier than knowing a parent briefly and never understanding why they left until you're old enough to get a possible answer that might be untrue as it's biased towards the other parent. I don't miss her. I have a nice life where I've just started and now dropping out of university. A loving family as my dad found a wonderful woman and even stepbrothers. So yeah, middle finger to the itch who spawned me. Similarly, did you go out knowing you wouldn't return? Or did you decide whilst out? I had sex with this girl I met in college exactly one time. I moved away soon after and she contacted me saying that I had a kid. I did the paternity test and the kid was mine. She wanted me to move back to my hometown and be a family with her. She was his ducking crazy though. She was one of those Christians that believes the world is only 3,000 years old or whatever. My mom tried to give my son some Disney movies for him to watch and my kid's mom would not allow it because it was unchristian. She's just a crazy ass. He's almost 8 now and I've wanted him to come visit me multiple times but she won't let him. I guess the way I live my life is no place for a child anyway. I do want to be more a part of his life though.